Hi, I'm Mike.
And I'm Josh.
And this is NFGeeks. All right, Josh, thank you once again for being on the show. I appreciate that. You know, that's cool. And, okay, so this topic is another topic that people on the Facebook forum asked me about. And that was to talk about how NFs get crushed in society. You know, when society sort of beats down the NF and the NF sort of gives up on life or hides under the bed, you know,
oh boy,
because they're emotionally shot. That was the topic that people wanted to talk about. So I thought we'd start off with just NF in general, and then we'll go to the types. We'll go to the 4 types.
Sounds good.
Okay. And this relates to the other video we did. So I'll start us off. This relates to the video that we did with the 4 NFs, all the NF types.
Yeah.
And I think that one of the things that happens is when NFs become highly sensitive, okay, and react sensitively, society shoots back and hits them hard, and that makes us hurt even more than we were originally sensitive.
Right.
You know, that would be my first thing. So what do you think about that?
Right, because society is, the NF is the minority.
Oh, yes.
In a society, so it's mostly like SJs, and there's a lot more NTs and stuff like that, so they can't understand when an NF is having like a meltdown. They don't understand why. Like, they just hear the reasoning and they think it's dumb. They don't understand the exact reason why we're having a meltdown. So like, it makes us like, now you're trying to make me feel stupid for being upset. Like, now I'm more upset. Like, that's what happens.
And that relates to, I think, that, you know, first of all, NFs are the least understood of the 4. And what makes it awful is that the NFs understand the other 3 temperaments better than any of them. So there's sort of this imbalance of we get you but you don't get us, and that really hurts.
Yeah, it's like a double it's like a double, like, oh, this sucks.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really difficult. And I don't know, we don't handle that very well because we really want to be understood, because we really want to be validated, we really want to be loved, and we're giving love out, and we want it to sort of come back, and it never really comes back. At least it comes back the way we would like it to come back. Right. You know,
it's like, it feels like a give but no receive relationship with the other types.
Yeah, and that doesn't mean that's reality. It just means that's how we experience it.
Yeah,
okay,
exactly.
That's the experience of NF. I mean, that's just the way we're seeing it. What other ways do you see NF being sort of stomped on by society?
I think it's a lot of it is like, a lot of times we want to do something or accomplish something, but the channels that we have to go through to do those things aren't set up for us to necessarily succeed, and so it's frustrating.
Yeah, that's true. You know, one would be like, for example, in academia, you know, I know being, you know, in academia, that it's very hard to sort of explain NF things to the more rational side of academia, which would be, you know, the NT side, or even the SJ, the strong SJ side in academia. And trying to explain NF is very hard. You know, I have an example of that. That originally in my graduate studies, I was in psychology, okay? And I was getting a master's in psychology to get a PhD in psychology. And it was miserable because psychology, you think psychology is all about people. In research, it's all about numbers and data loads and statistical. There's no, you know.
I have a funny story about that, because I actually took psychology twice, and it's not because I failed the first time. It was just because the first time I took psychology, I was taking, like, it was one of 6 classes I was taking, so it was like kind of a big workload, and I was like, oh, I gotta drop a class. And the reason why I decided to drop the psychology the first time around was because when I went in, I thought like the psychology was gonna be like kind of more what we do here, or like what Myers-Briggs does, like analyzing people and figuring out like how things work, kind of like more Freudian. And it was just like all about like profiling and like, and it was like numbers based. And I was like, oh, I don't like this at all. And then when I took it again the second time, the guy who was teaching the class was like, he used to be in the military, and like his job when he got out of the military was like working. He was like a prison like shrink, and it was like, oh man, this is like the same thing over again. So I just had a miserable time in it.
That's great, because that's very similar to the example I'm going to give. What happened? So the year I was in grad school was a misery. And because it was all like, it's the things ENFPs hate the most, like just putting in data.
It was like a meme.
Yeah, oh, it was horrible. And one thing you could do in graduate school is independent study. So, and that's when you ask a professor to just work with you one-on-one on a sort of a course. It would be like a course for the whole semester, but it's a class of one. It's still the same amount of work, same amount of reading, and then you write like a 25-page paper at the end, you pass it in. So it's just like regular grad school, except it's just one professor and you.
It's like a one-on-one class.
Right. So I was miserable, and so I asked the chairman of the department, I said, look, this is really tough for me, and I would like to kind of do stuff that, I enjoy more. So I'd like to do an independent study. And, well, she actually said, well, why don't you do an independent study? And I said, yeah, I'd love to do an independent study. And I said, well, what can I do it on? She said, look, any topic you want, you can do. It can be totally, formed by you and the professor, and it'll be really great, and you'll love it. And I said to her, oh, great. Can I do an independent semester about Carl Jung? And she says right away, no. Yeah.
Shut down instantly.
Right. Instantly, it was that quick. It wasn't like she thought about it. She just looked at me straight in the face and said, no. And so I asked why. Obviously I said why. And she looked at me and she said, that's religion. And that's when I knew, okay, it's time to get out. It's time to take another intellectual path.
Clearly, this is not the correct path I'm on.
No, that's right.
This highly intelligent lady just said Myers-Briggs was religion.
Yes, exactly, and everything going back to Carl Jung and everything. So that was my academic experience of wanting to be an NF, want to do NF things, and boy, just academia just, taking me down.
Right. Yeah. Because even like when I tell people like how I want to be a professor and like what I want to teach, they're like, oh, well, it's a good thing you want to teach history too, because that humanities stuff you want to teach is not really, it's a little fruity.
Yeah, that's
like,
right.
I can't teach humanities now?
Yeah. One of the things I'm proud of, and I'm going to get, slapped around for this, is that my entire degree is in all my graduate degrees are in the humanities and actually holistic thinking. I basically have an academic intellectual portfolio of NF, right? Totally NF, exactly. Religious studies and art and music and everything, literature and philosophy and all that. So, yeah, and that's been tough. And what's too bad about this with you is that ENFJs make great teachers.
Yeah.
Okay, they are, they really are excellent at that. So that's a shame that well, who said that? Like, where was that said? You don't have to give a name, but like...
like in classes.
In classes you were taking? In
classes, like...
By teachers?
Just, yeah.
Oh, my
people,
God.
Like, just people commenting, like, in conversation. It happens a lot.
Oh, no.
They're like, oh, you want to teach philosophy? Really?
Oh, no.
Like, ethics? What's that? Isn't that the same thing?
And
then I'll be like, well, I want to teach history, too. And they're like, oh, well, it's good you want to teach, like, a real class like history, too. That's what they'll say. And then they'll always be like, oh, but I hate history. It's so boring. And I'll just be like, well, I mean, it's not boring if nothing's boring if you present it in a creative way. But
oh, that's so...
But let's rewind.
Yeah,
Did you just say that philosophy and ethics aren't a real class and that it's good I'm going to teach a real subject like history, too? It's a little insulting.
Yeah, that's society. No.
This thing isn't real.
That's right. Everything you believe, right, as NFs, everything you believe isn't real.
Because even history is looked at as like a secondary subject, like something that's not, it's like, hey man, you got to learn from other people's mistakes, not your own.
Yeah.
That's the right way to go about it.
And let's say you went into philosophy is very logic and NT driven because they want to sort of use philosophy, jump board philosophy into other subjects, other careers where you would need logic or where you think you would need logic. So if you think you're going to go get a philosophy major and ponder, postmodernism and Michel Foucault and Kierkegaard and wonder about what is the nature of reality and meaning, forget
Wrong.
it. No, you're not going to get that. You're going to get things like if not P, then Q. Okay, that's like kindergarten. All right, it's all analytical philosophy straight through.
Which is horrible.
Well, if you're an NF, it's horrible.
Well,
because
it's horrible for everyone because
well,
the beauty of philosophy is the pondering. The pondering in philosophy is what makes it like a great subject, because that's the part of it that makes you grow as an individual.
Yeah.
Realistically, because it makes you think about things in abstract ways that you're not used to, and that's what gives you a more different point of view on the world and on life. So if you're just using the analytical part of philosophy, you're wasting a really great tool.
Yeah. I've said, and I think you might remember this, or at least how I teach this will connect, is that I've always said that you know, philosophy in Greek means love of wisdom. It doesn't mean the love of logic. You know, the word, the etymology of the word. So if that's wisdom, then that goes, it includes logic, but can also go outside of logic. My dissertation's actually
It's a
all
long
about
spectrum of things.
Yes, that includes it, but is not limited to.
Right.
Although, as philosophy majors and philosophy departments don't see it that way.
No.
At least in America. And Europe, I think they're a little, you know, because they invented philosophy in its totality, I think they're a little more open-minded towards that. All right, so let's get into the types, the NF types, the 4 types, how they get crushed by society. So why don't you tell us about ENFJ? How do you feel you personally have been slammed? Obviously, you just gave some.
Yeah, I gave some.
So
but,
what are some other ways in life that you feel as an NFJ society comes down at you?
Well, sometimes I think like I like, this may be more individual than type-wise, but a lot of times like I'll like certain things that people don't expect me to like, and then they'll say like, oh, you watch that, or you read that? Really? They'll give you that really face, you do that? And I'm like, well, why? I can't like that? And they're like, oh, no, you can like it, sure. And then they'll walk away like I'm their chihuahua or something. I hate chihuahuas, by the way.
Yeah, what, anything in particular comes to mind?
Oh, okay, like people will expect me to be like, come off as like a jock or something for some reason.
Really?
Like, which I am, like I like sports a lot, I talk about it plenty, but like when I'll tell people like when sometimes when people walk into my room, I have on my desk, I'll have my computer, and on the top shelf, I have books. And they'll say, you read?
Oh,
I'm supposed to be illiterate or something? And then they'll look at the books and they'll say, The Republic, Art of War. Like they'll list off the books. I have all these books. They'll be like, Introductory to Philosophy. Like, do you really read this? Or do you just have the books?
Oh.
And I'm like, you're very rude. Like, you assume I don't read intellectual things. Thank you.
There are people, and I don't know which type this would be, hopefully it's not NFs, who think like in your house it's okay to have bookcases with old books just for show. Just to look like you have antiques or something, you know, in a row, like that you don't even read them.
Make you look smart.
Right, they're just in there in a den.
I actually heard a professor say one time that like when you buy books or like you rent books, like you can rent them, give them back, like because you take a lot of classes, you don't just take major specific classes. But they said that you should always buy and keep your major specific books. That way when you have an office, you look smart, even if you may not be. That was advice I was given by a professor.
That's great. And you know, when people ask me, am I doing this in NFGeeks? Remember in the kitchen, you know, behind us was books. But really, those books are there because I just ran out of space. I have books in my kitchen because I don't have any room for them in other parts of my apartment. My apartment is like the size of this table, if not that. You know, right?
I can vouch for that.
It's like a box.
There's books everywhere. There's books in boxes on the floor. There's books everywhere.
Right. And so the reason why that's behind us is that I've run out of space for books. That's really what's going on. I mean, it makes a good look, but...
He keeps encyclopedias in the pantry next to the Lucky Charms.
I have, in my bathroom, I have like 10 books. I do, just for bathroom reading, you know, it's pretty good. You know,
I know, I
there a
trip
long
over them
time.
every time I walk in there.
What?
I say I trip over those books every time I go in there.
Yeah, I know. You're not reading them, though, are you?
No, I wouldn't get them.
There is one called The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich. You might be into that one.
Not funny.
That's from the last episode. All right, so that's ENFJ. Anything else you want to add to how ENFJs are stomped?
No, I think I'm good. I think I've let out enough today.
Okay. Okay, so let me talk about ENFP. And the hardest part for ENFP is that ENFP, we always seem like fools and flighty. no matter how hard we try, okay, we look like, you know, just flighty people you can't take seriously no matter what. There's this interpretation.
You always seem clownish.
Right, the clownish and juvenile.
Right.
You know what I mean? Doesn't matter how hard you try, and I've tried. Boy, no ENFP has tried like I have. You know, to break that.
To sophisticate the
Right.
ENFP.
Exactly, and I still come across as a clown no matter what. Or that I don't have the NF depth sometimes. People think ENFPs are not deep, and maybe because we don't express it right. But we're NFs too. And that's what's hard. We have this sort of deep sort of feelings and ideas, and yet we come out like clowns no matter what. One of the things that happens that really bums me out, that we're seen like clowns, like I even see us as clowns. I'll watch other YouTube channels about ENFPs or ENFPs are on, male or female, and they all come across as flighty, every single one of them. I've never seen one where the ENFP didn't come across as flighty, and I always think, okay, if they're so flighty, I must be like that too on NFGeeks. I have to, I can't be the exception.
It's funny that you say that because I'll watch, like I always watch like the YouTube videos that we make after we make them, because I'll look at myself and I'll make sure like, oh, I'm doing things right or whatever. But I always like to watch videos of other ENFJs that I don't know on YouTube, and I'll watch it and I'll be like, there's no way they're an ENFJ, because I don't act like that, so they can't be an ENFJ, because I'm an ENFJ, and there's no way they're an ENFJ. And I'm like, maybe I do that too. I hope not. That's strange.
Yeah, honestly, that's what
I facepalm all the time.
Oh, geez. Okay, that's what believe me, that's what I do with the other ENFPs. When I hear them and see them, and I'm, you know, I gasp at how flighty and ridiculous they seem. Of any age, doesn't matter how old they are or whatever. And I think, oh my God, I have to be that too. Everyone thinks I'm a clown. NFGeeks is just a clown show. I should just juggle. You know, I have the horns.
Mike, this is why we can't have nice things.
Yeah, no kidding. I think I come across like that in class. I certainly come across like that with my peers. I have no friends.
I have no friends.
I have no friends. I have no other. I'm like the kid who eats in the staircase when it's lunchtime in middle school because they don't want to get beat up.
But you're not an INFP.
Dad?
No, but it feels like that because I come across as clownish.
Dad?
You know? Yeah.
Forever alone.
Forever alone. Yeah, really. You know, it seems like that. Absolutely. So I think that's how society crushes ENFP down. We're not taking seriously ever, no matter how hard we try to be taken seriously.
I think another thing is society expects a lot from ENFJs.
Ah.
I think too. Because,
at the same time.
Yeah. No, because I think they don't like our ideas, but they know we're capable of things. So they expect things from us, but not the things we want to give them. They want what they want, and they want it at the highest level.
Yeah, and
because I noticed that a lot, like at work. Like I'll be asked to do a majority of work or more work than everybody else, and it's like, I'm not fair. It's not fair.
Yeah, and I have the same thing, and this might be similar to you, is that I am really trying my hardest as an ENFP to really care and really, you know, I take teaching seriously, right? I always bring my A game.
Yeah.
You know, I try to be as serious as possible, and somehow I'm still coming across as a fool. You know what I mean? Even though I'm really, really trying to be as, you know, top notch in terms of the ideas, what we're talking about, notes on the board.
Brings notes. He's got the Mac out.
Yeah, I have my lecture notes, my outlines right there. I never deviate. I'm getting I answer every question, you know.
Every question.
Yeah, it's hard, but still, you know, fool. All right, let's talk about the other types. I want to start with INFP. And I think one of the things that happens with INFP is that they have this idealization about what's going to happen in society, their jobs, their life, how they're going to be seen, and they you know, it's too idealized. And then when they see the reality of society, they get hurt the most. They totally bum out. I mean, they cry. I mean, it's a really hurtful. They want to go hide in the cave and never feel again. And
completely agree. I think of the 4NFs, they're definitely the most idealistic.
Yes.
And they over-romanticize a lot about how things should be. But I also think that they're impatient, which is why they have those big freakouts, because I don't think a lot of them, not the functional ones, but in the dysfunctional ones, they don't have the patience to go to work to get those things. They want more immediate gratification of how that those ideals to be
Yeah.
fulfilled now, and when they don't get it, that's when they kind of really get shot down. But even when the ones that do try hard, their just idealizations are just too grand, I think.
Well, what makes it hard for them, the reason why they get hurt, is they're legitimately working with that. You know what I mean? They
Right.
believe it. You know, they have some cause. They think, you know, I'm really going to be this good person.
They
And
try.
They absolutely try. I used to call it the INFP like Boy Scout oath. You know what I mean? I do solemnly swear to be nice to nature at all times. You know, like they believe it. And so they're acting through this idealization that they actually believe in of some cause, and society just, you know, knocks them down.
Right, because it doesn't run on the same track.
And then they get wounded. They get the most wounded about this.
The deepest wounds.
Yes, absolutely, about society. They get very glum about it, you know.
They end up in the nexus.
Yeah, they do. I call it the swamp of melancholy.
Swamp of melancholy.
Yeah, right to the bottom.
The nexus takes you there.
Yeah, it sure does. Right, it's a vortex.
The nexus is a black hole that brings you to the swamp of melancholy.
Right, a whirlpool, and then you're stuck in this thick swamp of misery. Yeah, I mean, all the NFs go into the swamp of melancholy, but nobody.
Right.
They are where the catfish are. I mean, they're right at the bottom. They can feel sand. You know what I mean? I get down in there, but I don't feel sand. I'm kind of I'm floating. I can kind of see the surface a little. You know, that not the INFP.
You're just beneath like the seaweed.
Yeah, that's right. I can still see light. The INFP, there's no surface, so they can't see a thing. You know.
They're evolving and growing glowing things.
Yeah, right. That thing that comes out. You know, their eyes are disappearing. All right, so let's get to the INFJ, and I've had this said to me from INFJ, so I know this is really true. Society, the way they get beat down with society, and they'll all say this, I know, nobody understands. Nobody understands me. They have these big thoughts, these huge ideas.
Oh, boo-hoo. Nobody understands anyone. Come on.
No, but but see, that's society right there. You're speaking the word of society.
Well, because people don't want, all people can feel misunderstood.
Okay, true, but no type feels more misunderstood than the INFJ. And honestly, okay, this is what I'm going to say about it. They're right. Okay, they are truly misunderstood, and they're really trying to act on causes, you know, when they're not dysfunctional. That was the last episode. They're really trying to act on causes, but they can't express why, because it's just too abstract, and they're trying to act in the good of society, and nobody gets them. And they'll say, even the other NFs don't get them, you know. That's true. The other NFs don't. The only one that comes close, they've said this, and I like this, is the only one who comes close is the ENFP. And truthfully, it's not that we get them, but we get they're experiencing something. There's something in there.
Right.
It's real. And I've had this experience with every INFJ. There's something in there. It's real. It exists. I don't know what the heck it is. I can't get to it either, but it's in there.
It's in there somewhere.
It's in there somewhere, and we should at least take it seriously, even though none of us get it.
Right.
All right, and actually your response
is the J.
yes.
Because I don't think it's important enough for you to feel more overwhelmed than me, so.
Okay, that brings me to the next topic, is that when, you know, oppressed groups always start to self-loathe the group. And so I want to talk about NF on NF hate.
NF on NF crime.
Yeah, that goes on, that's connected to this, because then we become part of society, because we want to be accepted by society, so we stomp on the other NFs, either individually or collectively. Where do you think you do that the most, and why? Why do you stomp on NF sometimes? I stomp on it too, even though this is NFGeeks.
I don't, see, because a lot of times I don't realize, like, it's NF on NF violence. I just think it's ENFJ on I don't care about you violence. More so because, I mean, I don't, like, specifically say, like, oh, I need to down my NF so the SJs or the NTs will like me. I don't, like, the process isn't that way, but it's just the fact that I think it goes along with the J, the external judging, is just the fact that if I don't think, which is admittedly it's pretty rude, but if I can't understand or empathize or sympathize with what you're going through, or I don't think what you're going through is that big of a deal or important, even though it may be, or it obviously is to you, I don't care about it. I kind of put it to the side.
All right, well then let me change it around a little bit.
I don't respect the feelings as much.
Okay, what do you hate about NF the most? When you're thinking about NFs or anything about NF, what do you like, oh God, this is just...
I think it's not so much about particular NFs. Oh, maybe it is.
No, not, but just the.
I hate how the
overall.
perception of NFs is just this like little like wimpy kid in the corner, like, poor
Right.
me. And then I hate the NFs that actually act like that because then they validate the other
Yes.
type's image of us.
Okay, that's excellent because NFGeeks exists, or the way I do NFGeeks is exactly for that reason. I mean, the good side is I'm trying to empower NFs. You know, that's the point. Like, hey, we have these powers, we have this, you know, this special thing. Use your power. And the reason why I'm saying that is that, you know, NFs, you're not using your power. You're acting like babies, and you're hiding under the bed because you've internalized what everybody says. And, you know, have some courage. You know, man up. You know, or girl up, or woman up, or cowboy up, you know, whatever.
Yeah,
way you wanna
whatever.
look at it. But that, you know, I feel the same way about NFs. That NFs become wimpy.
Because it's a lot of times even the ones that act wimpy aren't actually wimpy. They're just shy about their behavior, and it's like you don't need to be. Just be
right.
Be you. Be out there.
Exactly.
It's
I feel
cool.
the same way. Get out there. We have powers too. Use them. You know,
Right.
our powers are just as strong as everyone else's.
Don't play by other people's strengths. Play by yours.
Right. Get out from under the bed. You know, and do something.
Put the book down.
Yeah. The other thing, I have to admit this, and this is why I made that episode the other day with you guys, is that, and maybe it's because of the way I'm extroverted intuitively, is that what I hate about NF sometimes is when they're big crybabies, when they're overreacting. And even I know, you know, I know because I'm empathic in that way, like, okay, you are actually overreacting. And so stop being a crybaby and like get your act together. Yes, I know I'm irrational too. We all have those moments, but really you're over exaggerating this and you're over emoting.
Right.
And, you know, the other types are saying, you know, turn it down. And I think they're right. You know what I mean? Because you're going over the top with this.
Right, right.
You know?
Which is true, because even if I overreact, even if I think it's valid, you know, sometimes after the fact I'll realize, maybe I took that a little too far.
Yeah, sure.
But it's usually not like weeping overreacting. It's usually like lashing out overreacting.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and the thing is, like, it's a projection. When you hate an NF as an NF, you're really hating something about yourself as an NF. Because I know when I overreact, and this is classic ENFP, you know, I rant. You know what I mean? I give an ENF rant where like, no, and this is, you know, and Immanuel Kant would say, you are not following the catechol imperative because you are a ding-a-ling. And you know, I overreact in that way. You know, when I'm mad at somebody, you know, it's all like on the internet, huge emails, wicked, chapter 1. You know,
I've seen some
footnotes.
I've seen some posts that are pretty drastic.
Right, and then there's like footnotes to the, you know, I can't even stop. You know, and that's my overreacting, you know. But I really hate that in us, you know, I do, you know, because I think this is why we're not taken seriously, you know, because we're overreacting, you know, so that's, I wish we did some, and again, going back to the empowerment, I wish we did more than just write poems. Yeah, I like that we write poems, but like, we got to go beyond that if we're going to be empowered.
Right,
you
we
know?
got to do some like serious stuff.
Yeah. All right, so we got just a little time left. We got about a minute left, and so we've gone through how, you know, society breaks down NFs and how we do it too. What's some last thoughts you want to give on that issue?
I just think that sometimes we just need to take a minute and realize, you know, not everyone is gonna get us all the time, and we have to,
or ever.
So we just have to just sit back and realize, hey, stuff's gonna happen. Buddha, weigh it out, man. Like, just relax, calm down. It'll be okay eventually. We'll get through it.
Yeah, I agree. And what I would say is NFs, you have a power. We all have a power. We have a strength. You know, empathy and understanding something in a non-rational way is a strength that the others don't have, and we can use it. You know, use your power. Use your NF power. Use your strength, because it's there. It's real. I use it now.
Yeah.
You know.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, Josh, we're out of time. So thank you very much for doing these episodes, and welcome to Crystal Cavern.